Today we're making this prop from Splitgate. So once you got the templates cut out, which I did something a little different, so with the magazine, but once you got the templates cut out, you're going to trace it and then cut it out. But you're going to do 3 pieces of this, one with a bit of a cut in here for the magazine. But for the magazine, instead of following the lines I did, cut a straight line from here to this corner, just straight up. It's hard to see right now, but I did not follow the original template lines on either side. Just cut 2 straight lines because it would not work correctly otherwise, I realized. So let's just make sure it's one straight line on either side and not, up and side. Okay, so once you got the main body cut out 3 times, what I like to do to find the place to put the magazine and which one to cut the magazine out for is to look at them and look for any imperfections. And because obviously there's going to be imperfections because we're human. This one, see how there's this little dip right here? I really don't like the look of that, so what I'm going to do is use this one since the other 2 look pretty good. So this one's going to be the middle piece. So now what I'm going to do is take the template, lay it right here, and then go from there. Let me find the template and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so once you get your template and the piece that you want to cut out of, which you could just do it at the beginning, this is the way I like doing it, because I don't want to see this later, but this is just the way I do it. You don't have to, you can just cut out initially. Is what I do now is lay it in until I get it roughly where I want it. So I want it right about here personally. So right there, so we have space on either side. Lay it down and then you trace it. Trace around this while it's still in position, which I can't do with the camera in my hand. Once you got that, you should be able to cut it out and you'll be set. Okay, so I just traced it in. Then all you're gonna do is take a knife, which I'm gonna use this one, and just cut it out. Just cut this piece out and you're done. You could also reuse this piece and just trim it down slightly on the sides so you can move in and out better, but you can use this piece as the clip later. So keep that in mind. So I screwed up and forgot to do something. Well, I forgot to hit record at this bit, but so I'm re-recording it. So once you get this piece cut out of here, you can use this as the magazine later. Once it's done, you just need to add the little bond bit so you can grab it and pull it in and out. Friction should hold it in place, hopefully, if you do it right, which it's pretty easy to. If you screw it up, oh well, you can always just use magnets in here. So, or Velcro, which is also pretty good. But now, after you get that, you're just going to hot glue the 3 layers together. 3 layers are going to go full piece, middle piece, which will be having the hole, and the full piece again on top. So you have this nice design, and you can't really see that. So you look underneath, which I haven't hot glued it together, so you won't be able to see it yet. But later, it'll look something like that, and you just slide in the magazine so easily, and it's really nice to do. So I'm gonna get to that, and I'll be right back. But also, before I do hot glue this together, I recommend with this design, since it's really big, and it fits my gigantic hands, either you can shrink down the template and then do this, or, you can do whatever you want. But this right here is just too wobbly right now, so this will flop around way too much later, even with 3 layers. So all I'm going to do is take a bad paintbrush, such as this one. It's as hard as a rock. Yeah, see? Hard as a rock. So I'm going to take this and just throw it in here at some point to give it more sturdiness, stability, so it doesn't flop around anywhere near as much. I might use another paintbrush as well on the opposite side. This is just to help keep it sturdy and so it doesn't flop around as much. Because, the hot glue will help out a bit as well, but I just recommend putting something in there. If you have any crappy paintbrushes, put them in, but if you don't worry about it, you don't need to. It's just my preference to keep it sturdy, so yeah. Okay, so now that I got this thing fully glued together, what I'm going to do is trim off any imperfections like right here. See that? How it's like a layer above? I'm going to trim off imperfections like that all around it. You can either use a knife, which is what I recommend, or scissors if you have very sharp ones, which most likely you won't. So just carve off the imperfections and you'll be fine. Okay, so I just finished cleaning up the edges with both my Dremel and my knife. First the knife, then the Dremel. So it looks a lot better now than it used to. So now I'm going to work on the handle and Dremel it to shape to make it look a little nicer so it's not a square, or in this case more of a rectangle. So I'm going to get to work on that now. Okay, so I just finished dremeling off the handle, so now it's more rounded and it feels so much better to hold. Because earlier it was just a square block, which did not feel good. Now it's more rounded and way more comfortable to hold, so that's always nice. So next, what I'm going to work on from the template is adding these score lines I put in to give the handle a little nicer of a look. That, or I might just cut out pieces of foam and lay it around. I'm not 100% sure yet, so I'll let you know what I decide on in a second. Okay, so I went with the route of cutting the piece out and then laying it on. I just really roughed it out with the bit of the template from here. Really, all I did was cut it out like this, and then did two parts of it with a bit of an inside bit. You just rough it out to however many layers you did, but that's just how I did it. Then you just figure out how you want it to sit in here. Personally, I think it's like, no, it was like this, I believe. Yeah. And you just hot glue it in place once you put it in and wrap it around either side. Yeah. So roughly, it will look something like this, sort of. Roughly. Except I'm going to line it up a little better so it looks a little nicer like that. And there you go. That's how you got the effect I got. Okay, so this is the effect I got from it. A layered, nice effect. But you could also just score it in with your knife and then heat gun it to make holes in it, to make it open up and make it look good. You'll see the technique I'm talking about when I do the vent bit on this, on the slide. You'll understand more of what I meant, but yeah. I just went with this because I thought it would look a little nicer and more accurate. You don't have to, it's just what I went with. So, yeah. Also, I used a thinner foam, as you can see, to get that handle bit. So, just wanted to let you know. Next up, I'm going to work on the magazine, multiple actually. So, I'm just going to copy this by, tracing it and cutting out more. And then all I really have to do with this piece, if you only want one, is just add the bottom bit by cutting out a piece of foam, shaping it the way you want, and done. If you just want one magazine, but personally I want 3. Don't know why, it's just how I like it. So I'll be right back with that. Okay, so once you get however many magazines you want cut out like this, you want to take any type of foam. So I'm going to use a slightly thinner foam than the big stuff I was using earlier. It's like 2 millimeters thinner. You don't have to really worry about that. It's just how I prefer it to be slightly thinner. All you're going to do is take it, put it on the base like this, and just cut it out into a rectangle or however shape you want it to be. I'm going to make a rectangle because that's what I think it is. Then I'm going to shape it a little more. So you just trace around it just however you want, and voila. Okay, so once you got all your pieces cut out, like I do here, you're just going to hot glue them into place and you're done with the magazines. Maybe shape them a little more. I'm just going to check my template quickly. So notice that there's like these slants on them, or a slant on one side. I'm just going to quickly do that. You don't have to, it's just what I'm going to do. So the back half is flat while the front half is slanted. So all I'm going to do is cut it and bevel it. That's okay, so now that I've made the magazines, all 3 of them that can also come out and in at will, what I'm going to do now is work on the slide, the front bit, and also the handle. So for now, I'm going to start off with the slide, which I'm going to do something a little weird to. I'm going to cut it out right about here, just bring it all the way back. And make sure that this piece stays together so you can score it later or do whatever you want. I'm going to layer it so it looks a little nicer in my opinion. But first I have to cut this piece out. Okay, so I just cut this out of the template. So now I'm going to go trace this into 2 pieces on the 8mm or 10mm. I forget how thick this is. And then after that I will hot glue it onto this right where it's supposed to be. Then I'll show you my plan for this little piece right here. So. Okay, so now that we have the 2 pieces for the slide cut out, what we're gonna do is hot glue them onto the main gun. So make sure you have them facing the right way, just for the record. I believe that these 2 go, This one goes like this. So once we get that on, that'd be great. Hot glue that in place and then take your Dremel and round it out so it looks a little nicer. Then I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I'll show you what I mean by that in a sec. Okay, now that I have these pieces on, like that, it makes it extra thick, but you can either take a knife for this step, or you just take your Dremel, which, you know, is what I choose. By the way, noise warning, so watch your ears. Okay, this is just for reference, but you see how this one's like more smooth and rounded over? That's what I did with my Dremel compared to the original side, which is still blockular. That's not a real word, but I don't care, don't question it. But this is more a corner. I like the rounded bit for this, so keep that in mind. That's why I use my Dremel on this so much. Okay, so now that this has been completely rounded over, we're gonna take this piece and then cut off this little piece right here. So just cut this bit off, use this bit, and we're gonna make another thin piece out of like 2mm foam that wraps around the top into the other side. So I'll show you what that looks like in a sec. Okay, so now that I got this cut out and put on just the way I want it, more or less. Doesn't look good yet, but you want this little piece not covered up because you want it to be terraced a bit. See how it's a little terraced? So now what we're gonna do is take our knife and the template and just score lines across here, you know, then to downward though, to add the design that we want. So we're gonna cut these little lines out and put them on. I'll show you what I mean in a sec. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once the camera focuses. Okay, today I'm showing, well, right now I'm showing you how to score. So, take a heat gun, wait for it to heat up enough. After you cut out these lines, see, I just barely cut into the foam, just enough so that there's small gaps. They're not really noticeable from far, except for on camera apparently, but just take your heat gun and go over it like this. Lightly go over it for a bit, and once it's done, it will automatically open up small gaps, which are very apparent by eye. See, that's much more open than it was on this side, which is how it originally looked. So this to this, so it's really good. I'm gonna go back to doing it, and I'll see you guys once I work on the rest of the gun. Okay, so the next step was to cut this bit out after I scored off all this stuff, which I forgot to record. So I scored all of this. All that's left now is at the front of the barrel and then the little grip that goes right here, and that's really it, honestly. So once we get this piece cut out, we put it, you know, we just cut out pieces for it, hot glue them in place, and then we just need to get this, which was just a little round bit, which is the grip type thing, which I don't think anyone's ever going to use, but I'm probably going to use like 2mm foam right here for this bit to make it thinner, but let's see how it turns out. Okay, so I just finished putting this piece on, and I decided to trace this on for these, which go right here in a bit. I just need to cut the little slits on it, which are all over it, so I just need to cut these slits, and that's really, the gun pretty much is finished except for right here. So, yeah. Okay, so I just finished up the prop except for painting. This is how it looks. I just added in the trigger, 2mm for this bit, and this piece, and also the sights, plus the rail, which I wasn't sure about. So, what do you guys think? I like it, personally. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please like, share this video to anyone else you might think who would like it. And that will be all. Thanks.